So my name is Tyson Monagle. I'm our sustainability coordinator, and this is Chef Larry. He'll be leading a cooking demo in just a little bit. To give you guys just an overview of what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to be talking about sustainable dining here on campus, as well as featuring the dish here. To give you guys a quick highlight from today's event. All of the china here, helps to avoid, resources that can, including paper-based resources, water, oil that are used for plastics and disposables. So this is another way that we feature sustainability on campus, and we do this in our dining commons too by using all reusable ware, so that we're not creating more waste than is necessary. And you'll also notice too, the plastic where you have for the drinks is actually greenware as well. So with that, just kind of a brief overview. We'll get into a little bit more information later on in your presentation. I'm going to hand it over though to Chef Larry.
Hi there, everybody. I just want to make one more introduction. This is Kit Swanson. He's over at Pippin, the residential dining. And once again, my name is Larry Martinez. I'm over at Lot 5 Mesa. We're in the little trailers right now, waiting for the building to get built that's on that side of the campus. But as you guys can see, there's a lot of ingredients on your plates. So I don't know, we'll just go through them and I'll just talk a little bit about them. There's a couple things that I should mention is that the soba noodles are a little bit of a trick to make. And this morning I was cooking for all of you, so it's cooking in big batches. I'll tell you what, it was a little rough. But they get done they take about 3 to 5 minutes, so you can imagine a big kettle with water filled up to the top, and I'm like, throw it in there, and I'm running, like I'm watching it, and I'm stirring it. I have to go run and get the ice because I got to cool it down. So cooking soba noodles, and I haven't done that in a while. Cooking linguine pasta, you can put that in there and forget about it. But when it comes to soba noodles, they're very delicate. So we have to take our time with them and make sure that they're cooked perfectly. It was a little bit of a trick, but we got it done. And then today what I'll do is I'll demonstrate how we cook them. And show you guys how they, just kind of like how I cool them down and get them going. One other thing is there's chicken on all the plates, there's a little skewer. We do have plenty. So if any of you guys want a little bit more chicken, Kit's going to be walking around a little more chicken to see if you guys want a little bit more. We got plenty, so it's all good there. But let's just go through the plate really quick, and then I'll just do the chicken. I'll pan sear the chicken for you guys, just kind of show you what I'm doing there. And then once again, the soba noodles. So we'll start out over here. We got a little bit of lemonade, and we got an infused water. So it's just water with cucumbers, and then there's a mint. So if you end up getting into the water, it has a little cucumber mint flavor. There's some fresh fruit, and then some wonderful lemonade over there from our catering department. So on the plate, what I did is I put a little drizzle of some Asian sesame dressing on the bottom, and then I ended up putting the fresh greens, and then the mandarin oranges, the peppers, the hearts of palm, some daikon sprouts. There's cilantro and carrots, and a little green onions on the soba noodles, along with some sesame oil and a little bit of rice vinegar. So I did type this up for you guys today. It has all the ingredients on there, so it kind of defines what they are, so you guys know what you're eating. A lot of ingredients. This was just kind of a Asian-inspired salad that I just love to make during the springtime. So lots of ingredients. It's funny because Kit's going to be doing a demo here in about a month, and I was like, gosh, don't do so many ingredients, because we're over here setting them up. So what we did is on these tables here, we just put them in rows, and then we just went down like an assembly line and made all your salads. So it's kind of amazing to see how we put this together, and then you guys come and just dine and eat, and it's all good, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cook up these noodles here. My water's already boiling, and show you the trick with soba noodles. Does anybody have any questions right now? Just to kind of start off? You're all good? Okay, so I'm going to get my handy dandy gloves here. And so this water is boiling. We're going to pretend there's some salt in there, okay? So I like to put a little salt, even when I'm cooking pasta. I typically, there's some chefs that will put oil and salt in the water, but I'm one to just put a little bit of salt in the water. It does bring a little flavor to your noodles. So here are the, I know there's a camera here somewhere. I think it's over here. So these are the soba noodles when they're dry. And they're just buckwheat noodles. So once again, they're very sensitive. So you got to be gentle. Plop them in the water, like so. And in the meantime, while those kind of do their thing there for a second, I got this little piece of chicken, and by the way, first time in this kitchen. And so we're going to get a little oil in the pan. This is to sear that chicken that you have. And usually the chicken, you can use chicken thigh, chicken breast, whatever your favorite piece is. Today I'll be using some chicken breasts that I got from Jessica. So back over to the noodles. The noodles are doing their thing here. And these are the kind that you have to stir around, because if you don't, they're going to clump together. I found that out this morning. So I was over there with the big vat. I had this big spoon thing, and I was just shaking them up so they wouldn't stick together. But after I was all done, I did have some that were like solid pieces. So as you can see, they're kind of all, you can see here that they're all just kind of floating around in there, which is good. So none of them are all put together, especially if you're going to make a big batch with all these noodles. Something like that. So about 3 to 5 minutes. And then what you want to do is you want to cool these noodles down immediately. So what I have here is I have some ice water. So we're going to give it an ice bath. I should have said I just had some ice because I just added the water. But, okay. So we have our ice bath. How many of you like ice baths? So I'm gonna test one out here, and I'm gonna say it's probably done. Another minute or so. You know, they're sometimes, like when you take pasta off, if you want it al dente, kind of just before it's done, you'll have just a little bit of they'll still continue to cook, I should say. But with these, you want to make sure they're perfectly cooked into the water, they're done cooking, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking these out. And then see how they are. Usually, just because I'm standing in front of you, normally we would have a strainer, and then I would just pour out the water and then toss them in here. But since I'm in front of you, we'll do it this way. So right into the ice, because I don't want to turn my back. So go like that. My oil over here is getting a little hot. And then I'll just kind of swish them around there. So once again, soba noodles, they cook fast. And then voila, they're done. And we'll let my oil get really hot over here. So I'll just cool them down, and today when I was doing the large amount, I was pouring big ice buckets of ice into the big kettle. So this is how we do it for two. And then here's what they look like when you kind of turn them into a salad. How about that? So in here I have the green onions, the carrots, the cilantro. And that ended up on your plate. And so with the chicken, where's my bowl? So we have a little bit of water. Is there a fan? Maybe it's on. Where'd Jessica go? Is that interfering with sound? Are you okay? All right. So with the chicken, I put a little cornstarch and water. And then I'm going to smush it all around. We're going to make like a little bit of a paste. And then we're going to toss in a bunch of, as you can see here, I'm just taking this. This is a pretty easy thing to do. It's just cornstarch, water. It helps the sesame seeds adhere to the chicken. And I'm trying to get to the right consistency. And my pan's smoking up over here, so it's perfect. Okay. So we're going to give the chicken a bath. We're going to just give it a little bath here in the cornstarch and the sesames. So what I have here is a hot pan, right, with oil in it. So I got to be careful here that I don't start a fire, because I know that's really hot. So you got to just get it to the right temperature, because you're going to add a little bit of oil to water, and what happens when that, you might get a flare up. So I'll do that to kind of test it out, where I just kind of check the temperature. And then what I'm going to do is just lay this chicken right in this pan here, like so. And then what I want to do is, there's something I always like to tell the cooks, is don't flip it before it's time. You got to let it do its thing. What happens is like even at home, if you have a grill and you go to put your chicken on there and the grill's really hot, just let it do its thing for a minute before you flip it, because if you don't, you're going to try and flip it and then it's going to tear, it's going to be stuck to the grill. Same thing in the pan. So you kind of got to let it do its thing and just know when to flip it. How about that? It'll tell you. It'll say, turn me over, I'm ready. So I'll just take this chicken and kind of just run this oil around it. And we have some handy dandy extra virgin oil. And with something about oils, as maybe some of you already know, that there's a higher smoking point with extra virgin olive oil. So you got to be careful not to burn it. So oil does burn, you'll get a kind of a funky flavor out of it. So you don't want that. So as you saw, the oil was starting to smoke. The pan was getting a little hot. So right when I did that, I added a little bit more, kind of cool it down a little bit. Now your canola oils, your peanut oils, a lot more, they can handle a lot more heat. So like I was saying, you don't want to flip it too early. And then what I like to do is partially cook the chicken. So you cook one side, and then you're going to go ahead and flip it, and you're going to cook a little bit of the other side. So I don't want to cook it all the way in the pan. What I want to do is have the oven going at about 300, 350. So if I was doing this for some family and friends, and let's say that I had 4 pieces of chicken going, and I had my oven, I'd have my oven at about 300, like I said, 350, and just pop the whole thing right in the oven. So we do that. Can I get 2 pieces of cooked chicken? Here we go. Never mind. Got it. So you're wondering, how did you get these onto the skewer, Larry? And I'm going to tell you here in a second. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go ahead and pop this in the oven. And we're just gonna let that cook up. Okay. Now the magic of TV, my noodles are there, but I already have them cooked here, ready to go. So with skewers, now there's a couple ways you could do this. If we were doing an outside barbecue, you could skewer all the chicken and you just gotta watch it. The best thing to do is to soak your skewers in water. Why do we do that? So they don't burn. They won't burn up on the grill. So I've soaked these. And for this particular dish, what we did was we seared the chicken just like so, and I ended up using smaller pieces, as you can see. There you go. So, and then what we did is we skewered them afterwards. So this is how you got skewers onto your chicken. But like I said, you're always welcome to skewer your chicken and do it on an outside grill. I don't recommend skewering your chicken and putting it in the oven. I just kind of go for, if you're going to do it outside on the grill, you're good to go. So what is funny here that I'm just noticing, I didn't skewer these ones, is that you got the pokey part sticking out. So I hope, just be careful. Don't poke yourself. I just noticed that, that's funny. So I'm gonna build this salad for you guys like the way we did when we were in the middle of this production here. So we got a plate. And then what I have here is just some of this dressing, and I know that you guys are all going to go home and say, you know what, I'm going to make that salad. I can already sense it. So we put a little bit of the dressing on the bottom. You could potentially always toss the greens in the salad, the whole bit. It just depends. It's whatever your filling is, I guess. But for this application, this is what I'm going for. So we take some of those noodles, we got a good, and we put just a little bit, just like that. Once again, carrots, celery, green onions, a little bit of sesame oil. And then we're going to take some of these spring grains, right here. We're just going to put a little bit, just like so. And then you could use as many ingredients as you want. I just kind of went overboard. I don't know why, I just did. So we'll go with a couple peppers for color. I like things to jump out at you, and just some bright colors. It's really neat that the earth gives us such beautiful colors with our food. So we'll put this like that. I have some, these are hearts of palm, one of my favorites. They kind of have an artichoke taste to them. So we'll kind of sprinkle that around the plate. I got some wonderful edamame. And these come in a little shell, so when they come out, they're like this. A lot of times you get them at a Japanese restaurant, boil them, put them with some salt, sit there and eat about 50 of them. So you put those around the plate, a couple little cucumbers, a little bit of water chestnuts, and some mandarin oranges. Place that around like that. A couple of these little mandarin oranges. I like crunchies with salads when I'm making salads. So I have these wonton strips. You could use tortilla strips. You could use crunchy chow mein noodles. So we do a little of that right there. And then I have some daikon. It's almost done, really. I got some daikon sprouts here, like so. We put The Ponzu. So we put just a little drizzle of this on there, like so. And then you get a wonderful piece of chicken. Be careful with the pokey side. And you just kind of lay that like that. And there you guys go. That's it. Thank you guys so much. It was great. It was fun. I was kind of anticipating how today was going to roll out, but it was really cool. So pretty neat to be in this kitchen without being here before. So I guess the magic worked. I'm going to turn this over to Tyson. Once again, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you again soon. There you go. I gotta hand off the news. There you go, sir.
So that was fun. So the next part, we're just going to go through a short presentation. This is all about sustainable dining on campus. So you guys have kind of seen a little bit of it already, but I want to go more in depth both about our sustainable foods, how we minimize waste, which I touched on, a unique sustainability program that we have here called our Green Captain program, and then some of our sustainability events that we hold on campus as well. So just a couple of quick highlights. I don't know if you guys can see those up on screen. If it's a little bit too small, there's also a large projection in the back for those of you at the back of the room. 27% of our foods on campus are sustainable. And this is calculated. We use the UCOP definitions for sustainable foods. That includes, for instance, local, organic, fair trade foods, and so on. Additionally, in terms of zero waste dining, we are completely styrofoam free, so all of our dining services do not use any styrofoam whatsoever. We have 5 zero waste dining locations on campus, and then additionally we have a reusable to-go program in our dining commons, which we use to minimize waste and avoid producing it in the first place by not dealing with disposables, as well as reducing food waste to an extent too. A couple highlights real quick on our Green Captain initiatives, which I'll talk about more later. We have receiptless transactions now campus-wide, so all of our dining locations, when you go to those, it's receiptless. And additionally, we also recycle. This is more kind of on the back end, but another aspect of dining that people don't necessarily think about is, there's a lot that gets printed. And so we actually recycle 100% of all of our ink and toner cartridges on campus too. And then in terms of sustainability events, one that I'll highlight a little bit more is called Weigh the Waste. And then additionally, we have a upcoming Sustainable Foods Fair for Earth Week, which is really exciting, and I'll talk more about that too. In terms of sustainable foods, I mentioned, there's a variety of different certifications that we, follow, that we use for our sustainable foods on campus. I mentioned USDA Organic, I mentioned Fair Trade. All of our fish on campus, all of our seafood actually adheres to the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch Guide principles for best choices and good alternatives, which helps to avoid overfishing and other environmentally damaging practices as well. There's another one that's up on the screen there you can see with the frog is the Rainforest Alliance certification. So we have this for some of our coffees, as well as chocolates and a couple other items. For instance, there's some different bars at Zot and Go that have this certification. This helps to preserve biodiversity in rainforests where the ingredients might be taken from, or raw ingredients that end up getting used in it. And then in addition to that, in terms of our local foods, we define that as 250 miles or less. So it's a stricter definition than some organizations I've seen, for instance, others that define that as, as long as it's within 500 miles. So we do define it as 250 there. Additionally, all of our eggs on campus, our shell eggs, are all cage-free. So that's another just nice little highlight there. I'm going to move on to one other aspect of our sustainable foods, which is our We Buy Local program. So at all of our residential dining commons, whether you're going to Lot 5, to Brandywine, to Pippin, or if you're not going there, but you go to, say, the Student Center, you go to Organic Greens to Go in the East Food Court, we have this program where we highlight actually our local farmers, growers, and other producers. For instance, you can see there the second one in from the left is actually a local bakery, and they use local flour in all of the foods that they produce. So we actually have over 130 different local growers and producers that we've worked with. For instance, you can see a couple, we actually list the miles up there. You can see, for instance, Be Sweet Citrus, which provides oranges and lemons for us, is just 230 miles away. And some of them are much closer. Actually, the miles up there that I put are the furthest ranges. Some of them have multiple greenhouses, multiple farms. One of those, actually, the one that says 178 miles, has one location that we occasionally get foods from that's as close as 44 miles away. So keeping it very local. In terms of zero waste dining, kind of turning from sustainable foods, right? I talked about, how do we deal with waste? How do we minimize it? And how do we keep it going from going to landfills? So the first thing I want to talk about is kind of the definitions that we use. Waste diversion is really avoiding going to landfill, and that's when waste is still produced. The other aspect of it, which you'll see kind of on the hierarchy there, listed as source reduction, is the waste minimization piece, and that's avoiding producing the waste in the first place. So in terms of our waste diversion practices, I'll actually show you in a moment the process that we use, but it's a process called anaerobic digestion. It's similar to traditional composting, but slightly better in terms of its energy returns, and it's a process where bacteria actually break down the food waste and produce biogases used to generate electricity. In terms of waste minimization, we have a couple different programs. We have our food donation program. So instead of letting the food become waste, donating excess unserved food. So it is unserved. We're making sure that we're not donating something that's been served out, it has been touched. Everything is very tightly controlled, and we want to make sure that food safety is a high priority as well. Our reusable to go program that I touched on before, helps us to avoid, it's helped us to avoid over 300 metric tons of carbon emissions since we implemented it. And then additionally, we have a reusable cup and mug program too on campus. So anytime you go to one of our dining locations, whether you're getting coffee, you're getting, like an espresso beverage, you're getting a fountain beverage, anything like that, you can get a discount as long as you use a reusable bottle, cup, mug, any reusable beverage container, 20 ounces or less. You just carry that in and fill it up. And when you go to pay, you're going to save some money. So I want to show you the process because it's a little bit exciting. And it varies a little bit for our retail locations. This example here is from our residential dining commons. But this is how the waste goes from UCI and becomes usable electricity for the Irvine Ranch Water District. So at our dining commons, sometimes, occasionally, students have uneaten food. Or staff or faculty as well, if you go to those locations. And what happens is they just take it, they set it on a dish drop, just with their plates, and it goes to the back of the house where our employees are trained to deal with this, to make sure that we're zero waste. So what they do is they separate it out. All the food waste goes in one bin, recyclables in another, and then we do the, if there's any landfill items that occasionally come through. For instance, if someone brings something into the dining commons, finishes it there, sets it on that conveyor belt, we'll separate that out too. Once it's separated there, it gets picked up by UCI Facilities Management. So we're very close partners with them, and then in turn with Waste Management as well. So they pick it up weekly, and they take it to Waste Management, which converts it to a slurry. So you're going to see in the top left there, number 5, slurry. So what this is the food waste basically gets ground up, mixed with a couple of liquids to become a liquid transportable food waste slurry. This then gets taken to a digester tank. So this is the part where the bacteria come into play, and this is over at the Irvine Ranch Water District. All of this is very local, Waste Management right here in Orange County, Irvine Ranch Water District, and UCI, of course. In that digester tank, the bacteria, just as part of their natural life cycle, they consume the food waste. It provides them energy. But in terms of their digestion process, they also produce biogases, just as their own form of waste. Those biogases, though, are useful for the Irvine Ranch Water District which can actually use those. It's a process similar to a natural gas engine, and it produces electricity that they use on site. So it's a neat little process. It's a way that we keep it almost like a full closed loop, because the Irvine Ranch Water District also helps UCI in terms of its reclaimed water and all of that too, and helps to reduce a significant amount of waste on campus. We actually diverted, it was 549 tons of food waste in 2014. So I'm going to turn now to our Green Captain program, just provide a real quick overview of what it is and talk about one or two of our practices that have come out of that program. So on campus in our dining locations, I'm sure you've been to a couple of them, you see, we have a lot of student employees. We employ a lot of students on campus, and some of those students, in addition to being great employees at our dining locations, are also what we call Green Captains. So they're a team that works with me, focused specifically on sustainability issues, developing new practices for our dining locations, as well as maintaining practices that we've already had in place. So one of the practices that came straight from this team, a Green Captain came up with the idea. We met a little bit to work on the details, and they went ahead and implemented it, is our Pick-Up Late program at Panda Express. So if you've been to Panda Express and you've gone with the intention to get a to-go container, one of the to-go boxes, you might have heard an employee ask, would you like a plate instead? That is actually to reduce waste. So each plate takes only about a third of the material as a to-go box. So by getting people to just make that simple change, we're actually saving quite a bit of the raw materials that go into it, as well as avoiding the emissions that are produced in the production of those materials. It avoids about 1.78 metric tons of carbon per quarter through this program. So it's not necessarily as significant as when you compare those 548 tons, but it's still very important, and that adds up quarter to quarter to quarter. One other thing that's come out of this is you'll see that low watermark right on there. So one of the Green Captains, this was 2013, came up with the idea, well, we're seeing a lot of, cups being thrown out. And this ties in with the watermark in a moment. But they said, there's a lot of water cups being thrown out at our location. What can we do about that? So we wanted to, make sure that we're doing a holistic way to educate people about this. And we said, okay, let's not just stop at the water cups. Let's look at other ways that water is playing into waste. Because actually with the water cups, both water and oil are used to produce the plastic. So it consumes water just to produce the cup itself. But in our dining locations, we also created these watermarks. So you'll see these if you go to any of our dining commons on campus, and these show you a range of gallons that each food takes to produce. So you can make educated choices about your food as well in conserving water. And I'm going to turn to our sustainability events. We've got this slide, and then I'm going to talk about the Foods Fair that's coming up, very exciting. So Weigh the Waste is another program that our Green Captains are involved in. And through this, we've actually gotten it down to about 1.37 ounces per person on average this year, which is fantastic. It used to be quite a bit higher. We've done this quarter to quarter at all of our dining locations to educate students about ways that they can be reducing food waste, as well as gathering feedback, for ways that we can be reducing food waste too. So it's really simple. It's just an event where we, as the name suggests, weigh the waste every half an hour. And as students are coming up, we're having them separate out the waste so they can kind of see the impact of if they're wasting a lot. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to open that dialogue, and our Green Captains are involved in this too, about, for instance, did you know you can ask for a small sample of a dish that you might not have tried before? A lot of these students, it's their first year here on campus. They haven't tried most of these dishes before because they're used to just whatever's served at home. So letting them know these simple steps that they can take is really important, and it adds up to saving quite a lot of waste. Additionally, we hold a lot of health-centered sustainability events too. So we do Meatless Monday events to educate people about the ways to reduce your risk for heart disease, stroke, diabetes, all of that, through cutting out meat just one day a week, just on Monday. It can be a different day of the week, but Monday's kind of a habit-forming day. So by starting a habit on Monday, you're more likely to keep it. We also celebrate National Food Day. We've held a couple events, and you'll see a photo right here. This is a resolution to eat healthy for our Fresh Start to Eating Healthy event that we held in January. So her resolution there was to only eat sweets once a week. And That's a start, right? It's something. You know, I'm sure people are going to get a little bit more health conscious as they get a little bit older. We're working with a college audience. It's not their top concern, but it's certainly something to think about. And then we've also held events for World Water Day. You know, I mentioned the watermarks. I mentioned the reusable, or sorry, the disposable cups. We also actually provide a lot of reusable cups and bottles and hold educational events too, so that students don't just know the impact of each disposable, but they have the actual option to use the reusable and get the discount at the same time. And then fair trade coffee seminars and other events. So the next slide that I really want to focus on though is our Sustainable Foods Fair. This is coming up next Thursday, and every one of you, if you get a chance to get out of the office, should stop by. We're holding this event at Ring Road by Humanities Hall from 11:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. So there's 2 hours, plenty of time to stop by during your lunch break. Come on over. There's a lot of different groups that are participating in this. We have both student groups, other campus departments, and we have some of our vendors too. So for instance, Theta Psi will be at this event. They've got free culinary herbs you can take, as well as pots you can decorate to plant those herbs in, take them with you. The Health Education Center is going to be there, and they actually are putting together an interactive food pantry simulation, so you can kind of understand, you know, the experience of, you know, what it's like to use a food pantry or to, you know, be in that situation. The Arboretum is going to be there as well with a bunch of local plants that you're welcome to, you know, take with you and enjoy. And then, you know, I mentioned our vendors too. So we're going to have Java City there with fair trade coffees. We've got a variety of vendors with different organic drinks as well. So it's going to be an exciting event, an opportunity to really understand sustainable food systems. Our Green Captains will be there too, so if you want to learn more about that program, you know, if it sounded interesting, definitely stop by. And with that, oh, there we go. I just want to give special thanks. These are the student groups, the campus partners, and sustainable vendors that'll be at this event. And does anyone have questions? Yeah.
What is that reusable to go program you were talking about?
So the reusable to go program is at our 3 dining commons on campus. And for a deposit, you get a reusable to go container. You can fill that up with food anytime. You would go to the dining commons instead of eating in. You can take that out, take out a full meal. And basically, you know, it's reducing waste. You're not using a disposable, and it gives you the option to take it, you know, whether you've got, you know, a meeting to be at or, you know, a class to teach or anything like that too. So you can just take your meal to go and then you bring it back, that container, and you can exchange that for a clean container at any time, no price for that. As well as if you don't want to carry it around, we have little rain check cards. You can exchange it for that. It's, you know, about the size of a business card. Just keep it in your wallet. And next time you want to get that container back, you just bring that card, hand it to the cashier, and you get a new container. And then, you know, if you're all done, you know, say, you know, end of the school year, you don't really, you know, have plans to use it again, you can always return that container too. Was there a question back here? Yeah.
As far as the sustainable foods, restaurants on campus have more of the sustainable?
So all of our locations have very sustainable foods. One of the things that we do notice is, especially because a lot of our coffee on campus is sustainably certified, that, you know, if you go to a cafe location, just percentage-wise, it's going to be higher. But a lot of them hover right around that 27%. The split between our residential locations and our retail is residential is right at like 26.7 something, and then retail is at 28 point, you know, some decimals in there.
Are there plans to increase that?
There are, yeah. So we work on this every year, and we actually track it and calculate it every year too. We've surpassed the original goal, which was 20% by 2020, set by the University of California Office of the President. But, you know, we're working on increasing that every year. It is a, you know, high priority. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
On the weigh the waste, what's the time increment that represents?
So that's for one meal period. So we do that at dinner because that's a, you know, a high traffic meal period. It lets us kind of interact with more students and educate more students. So it's a 3.5 hour period from 4:30 to 8 p.m. Yeah.
So if you're using the plates and the utensils,
Mm-hmm.
is there
So there is, a small trade-off, but in terms of, kind of the difference between the water that it takes to clean something versus the materials and the water that goes into producing those materials and the transportation of those materials and all of that, it comes out way ahead of using disposables all the time. Yeah. And actually, on that, one thing that we did several years back now was switch to trayless dining. So before at our dining commons, you'd get a tray and you could load up your dishes on your tray, go sit down, and that was one extra thing per every meal that was getting washed. So we got rid of the trays and saving a lot of water that way too. We've saved well over 1 million gallons of water.
Do you see a reduction in the food waste as well?
Yeah, with the switch to trayless dining, I don't have the exact numbers on hand, but if I'm remembering correctly, it was a little over 4 ounces per person with the trays, down to about 2.5, I would say, without them. So a very significant reduction there. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. So dining will be here again next month. May is our last one for this fiscal year, so we take a break over the summer for our Health and Fitness Fridays. So they'll be back again to talk about all the healthy ways to eat on campus and where you guys can eat healthy while you're here at work. Some of the misconceptions that we get a lot from faculty and staff is there's nowhere healthy to eat. So we will debunk that myth for you next month. If you guys have any questions, you guys will be hanging around, and help yourself with some more water and fruit before you guys go. Thank you so much.
Do you need the
Thank you so much.